List in the order. Have you started? Are we doing a cold open? You didn't even tell me. That's cold-hearted. That's a cold-hearted cold open, if that's what you're doing.
I don't know.
Mate,
I pressed record and then it just fucking
he
chucked me out.
I just accidentally pressed record. Because that's what you do when you're on the Poproast podcast, everyone. It serves you well to hit record. It serves you well to know when you're hitting record, and it serves you well to know when we're going on. So, before we even fucking start, click the like, click the bells, click all the things. Don't click everything. You might get a virus, right? But how we doing, George? We're having another tidy Sunday morning here.
Same again, but not cranky. I'm good. I'm just tired.
No crank. That's
no crank.
Good, mate. I tell you what, I got a little bit of a crank on this week, right? So I'm not ashamed to admit I don't have the biggest following on social media or anything. And whenever I post something, usually about this show for the last couple of months now, one of the only people that likes is my very own Mama Lewis. And that's always nice to support. It's like at least I've got one person watching, listening, checking it out, right? Every week since we started, likes all the posts, all the pictures, all the stupid shit that we put up.
Oh man.
And then as I was putting up the stuff last week for last week's show, I get a message. What's all this pop roast about? Didn't even know what it was. So
classic.
Thanks, Mum.
Classic Facebook.
Yeah, I thought you was watching. I thought one of those views was you, and nothing, I just
both sad and hilarious.
A little bit sad, a little bit hilarious. And I just felt like, don't embarrass me when I'm promoting my podcast, Mom. Like.
Did she privately message you, or was that a comment?
Yeah, no, it was privately. Luckily, that would have been brutal otherwise. And I can't hate it too much. This is the same person who thought that the internet installation guy would know what a Facebook password was because she forgot it. To his credit, he stayed for like 2 hours and he went through it with her, so they figured that out. Maybe I need to get him back round to show her how to like and subscribe to the show.
Good old boomer Facebook.
Yeah, I love it. So that's how my week's been going on. What's going on with you? You've got some stuff going on, maybe in your attic. Is that right?
Yeah. Got a little bit of a squirrel infestation in the loft. And despite what you might have heard, squirrels are not nocturnal animals. At least the ones around here aren't. They like to get up at the crack of dawn and fuck shit up in your fucking loft.
The nut crack of dawn.
Yeah. Driving me nuts.
Mate, I've never heard of a squirrel infestation,
I think there's only like 2 of them, to be honest. But
I mean, more than one probably counts as an infestation. And that's all you need. If you've got one, it's probably just going to stay as one. But if you've got 2, therein lies the possibility for a whole lot more to potentially be coming down the proverbial pipeline. How'd they get in?
Hole in the fucking in the roof, in the tiles. There was one there already, and they had workers come out and they said they sorted them out, but they clearly didn't.
No, mate.
Yeah. What a noisy time.
Yeah, man, all that cracking and crunching and nibbling,
scuttling
around.
Yeah, fuckers.
As much as I love a squirrel, right? I think we're well overdue for like a gnarly fucking squirrel creature feature. You know,
Oh yeah,
if we,
Night of the
you know, we
Squirrel.
can have like a Meg and a cocaine bear and all these stupid, you know, things that we get, or classic Crispin Glover movie Williard, if anyone remembers that one with
Oh,
the
the rat,
rats.
rat
Yeah.
movie. Yeah,
Give me a squirrel movie, man. The marketing writes itself. This movie is nuts. You know, come on. Like, just,
maybe we have to make it.
I mean,
Night of the Squirrel.
night of the nut. Come on. Nut night. Nut of the Living Dead, you know? Zombie
No,
squirrels.
like that. Not of the
Which they
Living
very
Dead.
might well be if they keep this motherfucker up another night. You might end up going up there and having yourself a little squirrel massacre. Please don't. We do not condone the harming of
I shouldn't
any
do that.
animals, even if they're in your loft. Just call a professional. You know, preferably not Wayne Knight from Arachnophobia, because that didn't. It was Wayne Knight, right?
Yeah,
I'm
from
sure it was
Jurassic
Wayne
Park.
Knight. Yeah, that's the guy.
Yeah.
Anyway, we got some stuff to talk about this week that's not squirrels. All
Yeah.
right.
Here on the day of rest, the Lord's Day.
Yeah, we're on the Lord's Day. Perfect. Couldn't be any more perfect, could it? We're going to be talking about the Nun 2 a little bit later on. We've got a few
Tons of
trailers here. We've got documentaries. We've got adaptations of children's books. We've got a nice little range for your ears and eyes this morning.
Indeed.
So, you know what's not nice though? The twits. If it Roald Dahl's classic, I'd say one of his sort of lesser known, more underrated classic.
Sleeper classic. Yeah.
Sleeper classic. I think most of his stuff is varying degrees of classic. Say what you will, right? But my personal favourite has always been the Twits, because they're just not a lot of redeeming qualities about these people whatsoever, you know. And by proxy, the book, because for 80% of the book, you're stuck with these two horrible dickheads, right? And I always thought, why haven't they adapted any of this stuff? You know, we've had multiple versions of, Chocolate Factories and, James and the Giant Peach. We've had, Matilda. We've had, on screen, on stage. We've had all the Matildas, and I just thought this one was right for the taking. Right, so turns out they're making it. I heard about this a few months ago, that he was going to adapt it. It was going to be for Netflix, who a few years ago bought the rights to all the Roald Dahl catalogue.
Yeah,
So that was exciting potentially. And then we get our first look. We got some images from the Twits. Turns out it looks like a stop motion animated thing. We'll throw the pictures up, I'm sure they're on the screen right now. So first official look at the Twits. And I don't want to be this guy, right? Before I say what kind of guy I am, have you read the Twits? Are you excited for some Twittery?
I read it when I was a wee lad. Yeah, I think it's fairly obvious what they didn't adapt this sooner because it's just not that family friendly in nature. I mean, you can adapt it to make it however you want it, but the source material, like you say, is just too horrible. People.
Yeah, they're like picking noses and like
grim,
gaslighting each other and like really like emotionally abusing each other. They're eating leftovers out of body cavities and body hair, and making fun of each other's physical shortcomings, and it's not good stuff. Which, to be fair, that's probably why they're doing this animated, right? Because I think it's probably a little bit less savage than if you was to do, this in live action, and they're, picking out noses and ear waxes and, beating each other up or whatever. Got like a fun, like stop motiony look to it. but I'm gonna have to be the guy, all right? Because I read the synopsis for this, and this is not my Twitch, all
No,
right?
of course it isn't.
It is not my Twitch. Let me just
I didn't even read
this.
it. No.
No, you don't need to. Right, I got it right here for you. This story follows Mr. and Mrs. Twit, who are the miserable owners of a dangerous amusement park, and their meteoric rise to power in their town. The Twit's takeover leads to an ongoing conflict between them, two children, and a community of magical animals who are determined to stop them. Now, I haven't read this for a while,
I don't remember.
but a lot of this stuff isn't what I remember
No.
from this story. I don't remember an amusement park. I don't remember a meteoric rise to power, you know. And I get it. You can't just have, because in the book it's just you're just really exploring these characters. You're just living in with them as they're really mean to each other and their pet monkeys, right? They got some pet monkeys.
Yeah.
And then like 2/3 of the way through the book, the perspective flips and then you go to the monkey's point of view, right? Which is my favorite thing about this, or the book at least, because it reminds me of the film The Burbs, where you spend most of the movie with Tom Hanks and you think
Yeah,
there's
the
something
neighbours.
weird going on, and then you switch over to the neighbors and it's like, okay, well, they look pretty weird too. Directed by Joe Dante, one of my favorites, who I always thought would do a really good version of this for that reason.
Yeah.
I always loved that, you know. But yeah, we're probably gonna use these two kids as it's like our POV into this storyline. I suppose we're throwing an amusement park and like a bunch of like colourful townsfolk in here to kind of spruce up the turd of these Twit characters. So we'll see how this
Yeah.
one goes. I've been wanting to see this adapted for a long time. That's why I just wanted to talk about it. And we're broadening horizons, it's not all, powers and, murders and stuff here on the Poproast podcast.
We talked about Chicken Run before.
And we talked about Chicken Run. We're well read, as far as the Twitch goes. There's no release date for this. It's going to be coming out on Netflix. I think it's expected to 2025, which is quite a way out.
Yeah.
So maybe if it is actual stop motion, that stuff takes a while. And there's been some good stop motion stuff on Netflix, like Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio and all of this stuff. I don't think this is really going to be pushing the art form in the same way.
Well, we'll see.
It could be. Could be a surprise hit.
Yeah.
But nothing hits harder, George, than all-time 80s classic RoboCop. I wouldn't be exaggerating. Classic. Absolute classic. And I wouldn't be exaggerating if I said RoboCop was one of the best movies ever made. If I'm making a list of, say, 50 or 100 all-time classics, this is guaranteed. I'm putting it on there. And I say that with no irony, no hyperbole. And it turns out that other people agree, because we're getting a documentary about this film. 4 parts, I believe, called RoboDoc. RoboDoc : The Creation of RoboCop. You like a RoboCop, George?
I love a RoboCop.
You love a RoboCop. Did you catch the trailer for this?
I did. Yep. Yeah, it looks like it's got everyone.
Yeah. Fucking everyone. Yeah, Kurtwood Smith, Peter Weller, Paul Verhoeven. And it's not like one of those things where they look like they've been dragged in to talk about something that they kind of did at the time and they don't really care about. Everyone looks excited. Yeah. Everyone's praising this. Paul Verhoeven quotes in this trailer saying this is the best movie that he's made. I'm not sure. You could debate that. I would say that it is. There are some people that would go Total Recall or a Starship Troopers. If you've got a favourite Verhoeven movie, everyone drop that in the comments down below.
for sure. But that's a trilogy there. Like that's the sci-fi trilogy.
That is peak,
Yeah,
absolutely.
it's
You know, because and all of them, they don't just hit hard on the action, you know, but the dialogue and the story and the satire and the comedy and, you know, not so much with the romance, especially Total Recall.
uh,
Consider this a divorce. That's my Arnie impression.
very good.
Nancy Allen in this trailer looking fucking fantastic. Why is she
Yeah,
not
I
still
mean,
working? What happened?
I could see people getting sick of that business. To be fair, but
Oh, but
I don't know.
she
She's
could
doing
play
all right.
somebody's cool mum in something. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
She doesn't have to
Yeah.
be on set like getting shot down or, you know, climbing up in the rafters, dropping pig's blood on people. She's in two of my favourite movies. That is, of course, Carrie and RoboCop. So
Yeah.
you're guaranteed we're going to be watching this. We'll probably talk about the movie RoboCop as well.
Most
We might even
definitely.
do a rewatch. You know, maybe a commentary or something down the line. I think could be fun.
That could be fun. Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So,
all
you
about
know,
that.
keep your eyeballs peeled for that, everybody. That's good stuff, hopefully. I mean, the documentary's already out in some places. We haven't got it here yet. But it won't be long until we can watch it somewhere, I would imagine.
Yeah, I imagine it'll be streaming
Yeah,
sooner or later.
absolutely.
Um,
Something you got something else to say about RoboCop?
no.
Or in general? Just what you had for breakfast? No?
Can you fly,
Okay.
Bobby?
Can you fly, Bubby? Well, I've got no segue for that, but
I don't know what the order is.
I do send him the order, people. So I mean, admittedly,
I put it in with my notes, and then sometimes it just, things get
sometimes
jumbled
I will
around.
send him the notes and then I will mix it up on the fly. So that's fine, bear with me. So you go from one gnarly 80s classic to another. There we go, I found the segue, people. And this one's not quite got the commercial widespread acclaim as a RoboCop. Some would argue it's just as valid and got just as many merits in its own fucked up way. We're talking about the Toxic Avenger, everyone. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. They released just the one teaser image, and since then we've had a whole bunch more. Hopefully,
Indeed.
Master Man here is plastering them all over the screen for your viewing pleasure. How are you feeling about these pictures, George? Has it changed your anticipation or your excitement for this since we last spoke about it?
Yeah, in a way, it's sort of given it a little bit more faith. Not that I wasn't, I just kind of felt like it might be, Troma gone Hollywood, which it technically is. He's got Hollywood A-list actors in it now. But yeah, I'm excited. I have some faith. We're talking about, Macon Blair, love the stuff he's done so far. And he seems like a genuine fan of the franchise. And yeah, seeing Elijah Wood's Penguin-esque
yeah, you either
appearance.
die a Frodo or you live long enough to see yourself become a Schmeagol. That's how it goes. Absolutely.
I'm down.
I'm so down for this. There was a plot synopsis and a whole thing that I seem to have not got any more available to me. However, based on these pictures, it looks like, because we see Dinklage pre-transformation, he's got the tutu, which is a staple. He's wearing like a mask. What I'm hypothesizing here, based on these images, because from what I understand, Kevin Bacon, who's the villain, plays his boss. He's like the millionaire owner of some horrible corporation. or whatever. And in the plot synopsis, it says that after being like humiliated and exposed to this accident, that he goes for revenge. So I'm going to assume that Kevin Bacon is going to be paying Dinklage to like be like, you know, like a front of house or like a servant at one of these like big fancy parties or galas or something. And then all these rich people are just going to make fun of him and treat him like shit. And then he's going to fall out a window and land in some toxic waste, as you do. And then he's coming back hard. So it's a little bit of a departure. I don't hate that if that's what they're doing. But it's going to be fun. I absolutely can't wait to find out. We still don't have a release date for this, but we do have some first reactions have started coming out. So this thing is screening. This thing is ready to go. This is from IGN. I got two reactions here. So this will kind of give you a nice, well-rounded and maybe temper or increase your expectations. So IGN, they say the Toxic Avengers not remake is a mixed bag that struggles to deliver on the schlocky goodness of Troma's stronger films. Still, what it lacks in so bad it's good silliness, it makes up for with heart and mostly practical slaughterfests. Kevin Bacon and Peter Dinklage having an absolute blast in their roles doesn't hurt either. So that kind of sounds like basically what it sounds like you was expecting.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, not loving that. But, you know, it's basically, you know, par for the course, right? But then Rotten Tomatoes come out, and we're only 10 reviews in so far. The screening was from Fantastic Fest, by the way. And with 10 reviews, the Toxic Avenger is coming in hot with a 94%. So
wow,
that's promising.
I mean,
obviously that's going to go down, but it's a good. I'd rather it start at 94% and go down than start at 9% and go down. So
yeah,
I'm hearing buzz. It's going to be good.
Yeah,
hopefully.
I'm not expecting, you know,
Yeah.
when you have a budget and you're doing something Troma, it's just not going to be Troma, is it? So I've just already sort of accepted that. That's one thing can't avoid.
Yeah, and we've seen a lot of films where they've kind of tried to emulate like a B movie, you know, low budget vibe, but a lot of the time I feel like these studios end up spending more money trying to recreate that look.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that doesn't make sense. Surely if you just spend less money, you don't need to like try to recreate the look. You will just have the look, right?
Yeah.
But you know, these actors aren't cheap. So hopefully, you know, they bring something to it that warrants having them in here. I feel like Elijah Wood is the one that gives me the most hope for this, not because of, you know, how fucking disgusting he looks in the picture that we've got here, but because I feel like he's got really good taste in scripts. He always seems to, you know, it's hard to navigate out of something like a Lord of the Rings, you know, when you're a Hobbit, you know, it hasn't gone so great for the other three, you know. It's easy to kind of, you know, career to just kind of just die in a lot of the time after these like massively successful adaptions and stuff. But Elijah Wood, he's been like Sin City, he was in Cooties. I even really like The Faculty. I know that was before, I think, or maybe it was around like the same time as LOTR. But I trust his judgment. So I'm looking forward to that. Absolutely can't wait to, for better or worse, to see how that turns out. To follow on from that, talking about things that we can't wait to see, we're getting early reactions in for Gareth Edwards, the creator. Now, Gareth Edwards famously directed or half directed Star Wars Rogue One before Lucasfilm took it off of him, gave it to Tony Gilroy, and rewrote and reshot like a good chunk of the movie. But that's fairly standard for Lucasfilm at this point, unfortunately. But He also did, before that, he did Godzilla, the 2014 Godzilla. And that was coming off of his super low budget Monster. I don't know if you've seen that one, where it's like a
No, I
road
am not.
trip. It's like a post-apocalyptic road trip movie, just a couple of people making their way across America, and a good chunk of America has been like infested with like big Lovecraftian creatures or whatever. But we don't really see the creatures. It's about the creatures inside of us, George,
Of course.
of course. But he's had this new
Nice.
film. Like, a lot of people been wondering, where is he? Did the Rogue One thing like really just kill his career dead in its tracks? He just, whether or not he did most of that movie or not, I think Rogue One is probably the best Star Wars movie that's come out of Disney since they purchased that franchise. And now he's doing this thing called The Creator. I'm not going to lie, I don't really know anything about this. I don't want to know anything about this. But I'm reading these reactions saying it's a masterful piece of original sci-fi. Gareth Edwards is one of our great filmmakers, soulful, nuanced, Lucas-like interrogation of human beliefs. Other quotes saying it pulls from identical inspirations, but the creator is one of the best original sci-fi epics in years, massively entertaining, enthralling, and profound on every level. This sounds to me like what Denis Villeneuve thinks that he does. Because I think I've said this before on the show, overrated. Do not love Arrival, do not love Dune, not feeling that. This...
Oh, we touched on Dune, yeah, but...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just... this is what we need. You know, we've got Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon coming out. That's going to be kind of its own beast, and it's got its own baggage. But maybe this is, you know, in the wake of all this, like these big IPs just not really hitting as hard and as profitable as they used to, this is the time for these, you know, original, I want to say independent. I mean, this is still like $100 million movie.
Of course.
But of course it is. Because, you know, in this day and age, it costs that just to rent, you know, your grandma's old camcorder with high 8 tapes. But it's a bad economy out there. By the way, pay the writers, give them what they want, and the actors, figure it all out. Sounds like there's some progress going on with that behind the scenes. They're all meeting, the SAG, the WGA, the studios, the AMTPA, whatever they fucking call themselves. Too many letters. But they're maybe working it out. So maybe we're getting a little bit closer to paying the people what they deserve. Moving on. Looking forward to The Creator. And have you heard about this? You seen anything?
Not
Are you going to see
really.
it?
Only what you've told me. So is it again a Star Wars story that's not Star Wars?
No, it's
not actually attached to Star Wars at all.
No, unlike Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon, where it was like he's going to take his rejected Star Wars script and turn it into his own movie. This, I believe, is like it's 100% original from the minds of the people making the movie. Based on the title, it's going to be very heady. It's going to be very deep. We're going to get into some real soul searching, maybe soul crushing kind of stuff. So hopefully I'm going to be seeing this this coming week. Maybe I'll talk about it. Well, I say maybe. I wouldn't do that to you. If I'm going to see it, I'm going to tell you about it. You're welcome. So hopefully I'll be talking about that next week. That's what I'm saying. All right. So that's good stuff.
Yeah.
We got some trailers. We got quite a few trailers coming out lately. Like I said, there was Fantastic Fest. Toronto International Film Festival just happened last week. We're going to do a whole bit on that. But then I looked at how many films there were, and it's like 142 movies. I'm like, well, I can't pick like 4 of these. That wouldn't be fair.
Took us an hour to talk.
Yeah, wouldn't be fair to the other 138 movies. Exactly.
And that was like half the amount of films. Yeah.
And on a Sunday morning, people,
come on,
we're giving you our time and our energy. We've got to conserve it, and we've got to spread it out wisely. Otherwise, we won't have the energy to tell you how amazing The Nun 2 is in a little bit.
Yeah, all the
But
Nun fun.
all the fun too. There you go. None in the oven.
Not too happy
So
about that.
none too happy at all. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Maybe we liked it. Anyway, so we got some trailers here. We got we was going to talk about this a week or two ago. This trailer's been floating around for a little bit, but we keep talking about how there's not enough werewolf movies. We want more werewolf movies. So we'd be massive hypocrites if we asked for something and then we just ignored it when it came out. So we're going to talk about the trailer for My Animal. Did you get a chance to check this one out?
I did indeed. I got totally sidetracked, and I'm gonna totally derail us now just because I looked up the director, Jacqueline Castel, French Canadian filmmaker. She's made a few features, but there was like one thing that immediately stuck out was that she did this music video, posthumous music video of Alan Vega, Nike Soldier. Don't know if you know of Alan Vega and
I
Suicide.
did not know this.
All right.
No
So Suicide are like proto-punk, 2-piece, crazy, like, yeah, it was like punk before punk, New York musical duo that were, said to be a insane like live performance. Alan Vega was always a very confrontational performer. A lot of their shows would end with violence. Yeah, so I checked her out. Checked out some of her previous work. Well, I haven't actually seen any of the films. There's a few features she's done, but yeah, I checked the trailer out and I was like, so it's about werewolves. It looks, there's the only shot I actually saw of anything, resembling a wolf was a quick flash of a human running in the woods, and then there's a wolf, but it looks like
and there's
like an actual
a
wolf or a
moon
Siberian husky.
Yeah.
Which I'm kind of hoping that's not, because that's a bit of a cop out when people do that for a werewolf film. Just get shots of dogs or wolves. But it does look stylized. It looks, everything that she's done looks very, very stylized, very artistic.
The aesthetic kind of almost reminded me of Mandy with
the
Nicolas
lighting,
Cage,
the colors,
with the lighting and all the colors, which we'll talk about him in a little bit too. But from what I'm hearing about this movie, it's not an overt like werewolf, out and out action horror kind of thing. This is going to be much more like character based, more of like a dark love story. It's these two ladies. One is I want to say a hockey player, and there's a figure skater, and there's going to be some some love developing, some sort of relationship, and it's very much going to be more of this like coming of age LGBTQ plus storyline with some feral action, not that kind, get your mind out the gutter, right? But I'm really looking forward to this. It's this reminds me of like Under the Skin meets like a Ginger Snaps. So I don't know if this probably isn't going to hit theaters anywhere near us. I don't imagine.
So it's already released. So I'm guessing that's US though. It said it was released
exactly. So it did not hit a theater near us, I guess.
Like September. But yeah, we'll keep an eye out.
We're gonna have to, claw our way to find this movie somewhere, hopefully, and we'll talk about that another time. We're almost in October, people. It's spooky season. We're gonna be leaning hard into the horror all month because nobody else is doing that.
No one does it.
Nobody does that. Very looks like a relatively unknown cast. Like you say, it's like a music video director, which sometimes makes for the best stuff. You know, you get some more visually interesting stuff. The budget's low, so there's no, you know, very little of that interference. Hopefully, we're just going to get a real meaty, romance story here with hopefully a kick-ass transformation. Because even if we're focusing on these two characters and the relationship between them, you've got to have a transformation scene in a werewolf movie, right?
Yeah,
So
that's what I was saying. That's the only thing that I was dubious about. I was like,
yeah,
it's one shot and it looks like a dog. And when it's just like, someone turns into a Siberian Husky, I'm just like, come on, mate.
I mean, there's got to be different kinds
But
of wolves, right? So
there
it
are
would make sense that you would
different
have different
breeds.
kinds of werewolves. Maybe,
Yeah,
maybe some of them are smaller, maybe some of them brown, some of them are grey.
yeah.
I don't know.
I'd be interested to check it out.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
this next one, I had absolutely knew nothing about this. I'd heard nothing about this. It's one of those ones where literally just the trailer is the first time that you hear something about this. And this is called Suitable Flesh. Another
Okay.
horror movie. Did you get a chance to check out the trailer for this one?
Indeed. Yeah, we spoke briefly about this. It premiered at Fright Fest. All right.
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
And this is directed by Joe Lynch.
Lynch.
Did we establish if that was son of David Lynch?
No, he's
It's
not.
not. I'm sure I think we covered that last time. It's based on the H.P. Lovecraft. Cracking guy, nothing weird about him whatsoever.
Standard.
Starring somebody who I haven't seen as much of in movies. There's sort of 2 or 3 roles that I can point to that I know this actress from. Heather Graham, famously in Austin Powers 2. I think is probably where a lot of people remember her from. When I think of Heather Graham, I think of another movie. I think of Adam Sandler classic Anger Management, which
Right.
which is my favorite. And I'm not really an Adam Sandler guy, but Anger Management is for sure my favorite of his movies that I've seen, mostly because of a guy that we talked about last week a fair bit, Jack Nicholson, as the antagonist in that. But there's one scene in that movie where Heather Graham is hired. Spoiler alert for Anger Management, by the way, from 2003. Anyway, where Adam Sandler has to go and hit on Heather Graham as part of his therapy, right? With Jack Nicholson, and then you find out that she's actually an actress that's been paid by Jack Nicholson to just fuck with him and get him to like express himself, right? Do you remember this? Have you seen Anger Management?
Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah.
So there's this whole thing where she's like crying. He invites him back to her place, and then she just starts turning into this like cliche, typical like emotional woman. She starts saying about like how she needs to lose weight and stuff. And he says, if anything, you could probably gain a few pounds. And then she starts throwing chocolate muffins at him. She's shoving them in her face, and she has this massive breakdown. It's classic. I fucking love that scene so much. He's screaming at him with chocolate muffin like all in her mouth, just spraying everywhere. And it's fun to see, a conventionally attractive lady screaming at somebody with chocolate muffin in her teeth. I find that refreshing. So anyway, big fan of Heather Graham.
Yeah,
this movie
looks on form
weird.
in this trailer. Yeah,
she's going hard. What did you think of this? You excited for this?
Yeah, I was definitely intrigued. Like the whole body swap angle.
Which is a well, kind of explored trope, but I feel like this one is a slightly different angle that we've not really seen before. It's got shades of Freaky with Vince Vaughn and an actress, and but this looks a bit more serious, a bit more heady,
Yeah,
and
it looks serious, but the tone
dark.
of the trailer with the like cheesy, sax music and stuff is kind of,
Yeah, and I thought
it's
the trailer was maybe a
weird.
bit too long as well. Like, it feels like a
Yeah,
marketing thing. Maybe I'm thinking that maybe they're kind of trying to like make this look a bit more, broader than hopefully it is,
yeah.
because
Um,
there's go on.
no, I was just saying, like that's. It seems like that's why they've gone for that juxtaposed like angle to try and sort of get, like you
Yeah,
say, a broader appeal. But it's also got Barbara Crampton in it. So it's nice to see her doing things.
yeah,
Uh, yeah, I'm interested.
yeah. She's having a ball in this, from what you can see in this trailer for this movie. Like,
Yeah,
she's chewing up the scenery as this, crazy, creepy dude trapped in the body of an insanely hot lady. Okay, like, who wouldn't do nefarious things with that? Or, even if you didn't mean to, what they say about the road to hell and good intentions, you get your body swapped into, or your brain swapped into a body, you're gonna see changes in your behavior. You're gonna start doing things
I'd
that you
imagine
maybe
so.
wouldn't normally do. And again, I just hope this is a bit more heady and dark than what their kind of trailer. It kind of toes the line, but
Yeah,
I'm excited. I really want to see it. I'd love to see her in more stuff, because I've always thought she was a great performer. Physical attributes aside, you know,
Mhm.
she very much, like a character actor. Like
Yeah.
a lot of people say that Guy Pearce is a character actor trapped inside a leading man's body. I don't know if you've ever heard that phrase before.
I've never heard that.
But Heather Graham is the lady Guy Pearce, I think. And hopefully this does well and we see more of her, and
See more Felicity Shagwell.
more, more Shagwell. Everyone needs a little bit more Shagwell in their lives.
Of course.
So that's good stuff.
From the
But
woman of
what
your dreams
from the
to a film about dreams.
woman of your dreams to a film about he's taken my job,
There
everyone.
you go.
He's
My first segue.
done it. He's segued so well. I'm not
Off the
gonna linger
dome.
on it because I'll ruin it. So, dream scenario. This is an A24 piece. Which, they're always killing it, doing good stuff. The budgets are low, the premises are interesting. They're just chugging along, really making their mark in the industry. I think the last sort of like decade at
Oh
this
yeah,
point.
they've done some bits.
This is directed and written by a guy called Christopher Borgli,
Bonjour.
who, I'm sorry, man, I've ruined your name. Or lady, I don't know. Could be. I'm just pulling up. Yeah, not a lot of like big stuff here, really. A lot of short films, but they have worked with Willem Dafoe. So, this person is like clearly building up some clout, and now they're having a blast. They're working with Nicolas Cage. Now, to reference back to Lord of the Rings real quick, because we talked about that. There's this thing that happens with movies in Hollywood, right? Hollywood is the place where they make movies, by the way. Welcome to the show, right? Where if something will do really well, and one of two things will happen. First thing is the most likely thing. They make a million other things just like that thing, right? You get a good premise, and the studio's like, right, that's good. People like that. Let's make more of those. The second thing is a little bit rarer, but something will come out in a genre or a certain premise that is so good and is so iconic but all the other studios like, well, we're just going to stay away from that now, right? Like Lord of the Rings, you thought there would have been a whole slew of fantasy stuff come out after that, but it was done so well. It's like, well, we can't really top that, so we're not going to do that.
Mhm.
How that relates to this, if you're wondering, we're getting to the point here, is the premise of a man who haunts your dreams got done so well, so iconically in a little franchise called Friday the 13th. I kid, right? Nightmare on Elm Street, obviously. So some of these, cool concepts, like a body swap thing that we just talked about, got a whole ton of those. Not a lot of creepy dream movies. And I think
Not
there's a
enough.
whole lot of stuff you can explore with that idea. And who better to explore your dreams than Nicolas fucking Cage? And this looks bananas.
It does, doesn't
He's just this schlubby teacher, and we don't
and the
know why.
hair.
He's doing the, or the lack thereof, lack
Yeah,
hereof.
the ball cap, horseshoe, dome piece.
Yeah, horseshoe, kind of schlubby, frumpy, regular kind of guy, which isn't something that you say about Nicolas Cage a lot. All right, but he's having sort of a bit of a Cage renaissance, which he's probably like his third or fourth at this point. This guy can come into pop culture and then get kicked out of pop culture and then come back in ironically. Then he disappears and then he comes back like in a serious thing, and you just never know what you're going to get, right? Both in terms of him and like the quality of the movies that he'll do. I'm glad he's not doing like kind of like straight to DVD action thrillers anymore. He's really hit a good quality stride here with, we talked about it earlier, Mandy. He was in Pig. He was in that one that's not Five Nights at Freddy's, but basically is Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah, I haven't got a title for you, but
with the killer robots.
Yeah,
you remember the one. All right. So he's appearing in people's dreams. We don't know why. And he sort of starts to become this minor celebrity. And unlike the last trailer that we talked about, I feel like this film is hiding stuff. I feel like there's a lot more to this, and I love that. How are you feeling about it, and in general, if you care?
I did definitely. I'm interested. It made me immediately think of. Have you heard the case of This Man? There was this weird like little phenomenon where all these people were describing this man they see in their dreams.
Right.
And I'll have to throw the image because it's such a absurd, like artistic rendering of this man. There's a website called Ever Dream This Man, created by an Italian sociologist. I'm reading the Wikipedia.
Classic. We're doing Wikipedia today, guys.
Sorry,
we're on it.
I had to find the picture, but basically, just all these people were describing there was these 4 in particular patients of this psychiatrist in New York in 2006 who had recognized the same face, and then this website claims that more than 3,000 people have contacted the site to share their stories and drawings of this man, and they've all seen in their dreams, and they all range from mundane to supernatural. I'm like, oh, that sounds just like exactly what this is based off.
I mean, maybe there's a good chance that this could be inspired by that. I mean, it's a kind of broad and enough premise where seeing people in your dreams, that it could be a coincidence. The same as all these people seeing the same face could be a coincidence, right? I mean, there's some weird stuff to that, because apparently you're unable in your dreams to invent people. That's why everyone in your dream is will look like a person that you've seen in real life, but they're not always necessarily that person. They're just an analog for something else, you know. So it'll be like one personality, but the face will always be a face of somebody that you've seen or somebody that you know. And let's be honest, right? 7 billion people, wide range of diverse cultures and, you know, kinds of people that we see in the world from all different kinds of walks of life. But when you really break it down, how many different faces could you really make? Do you know what I mean? Or how many? Everyone kind of looks similar, really. So I, within reason, right? But it's like, how many different variations of people can there really be? There's only so many, you know, big ears, small ears, big nose, small nose, you know, blue eyes, green eyes, brown eyes. There's got to be finite combinations. So it could be coincidental, but or maybe there's more to this. You know, maybe this is part of simulation theory, and you know, there's a glitch in the code and it got repeated a few too many times. We're not going to get into that. Okay, we don't want to fuck with your head on a Sunday morning, even though
Sunday,
it won't be not
you won't
Sunday
be.
morning for you watching this, but we don't want
No.
to fuck our own minds on a Sunday morning. Some of us have still got to go about and live regular lives. We can't be worried about, you know, if we're in a simulation and if people are going to appear in our brains. But back to this movie, right? I don't think they're showing us a lot of this because we see a lot of like images, but we're not getting a lot of context. And based on the concept, obviously, we don't know what stuff that we're seeing in this trailer is from dreams. I have a feeling that some of the stuff that looks like it's from dreams is going to turn out to not be from dreams. I mean,
Like
stuff where people are like
the
floating.
crocodiles.
Yeah, some of the
Like
stuff is like probably going to be dreams, you know, the
yeah.
floating people and the crocodiles. But there's some other stuff that you see flashes of more like towards the end of the trailer where it's like, it's weird and like, you know, violent kind of or kind of like nefariously, you know, implied that there's some bad stuff is going to happen. I don't think all of that is going to be in the dreams. I think this trailer's hiding stuff from us. I definitely think there's going to be, you know, some hard sinister turn. What we don't see in this, and this is kind of weird, is that everyone's just like, oh, hey, I saw him in my dream. Oh, you saw him in your dream too. Hey, I saw you in my dream. And everyone's treating it like it's just like this really fun, novel thing. And nobody seems to be freaking out about this or wondering how and why this is happening. You know, do you get that?
I don't know. I mean, yeah, obviously it looks, you know, you see that clip of him on like an interview and he's on like some sort of streaming platform,
Yeah.
like chat thing. And I don't know, it seemed, yeah, like
Yeah.
I had that feeling as well that maybe there's something dark hidden in this that we're not really seeing for, you
Yeah.
know,
And
trailer
of course, there's a
purposes.
self-fulfilling prophecy there, right? Because if you're
Yeah.
appearing in somebody's dream and then you go on fucking TV, you know, on like a news show or YouTube or whatever it is, and then more people are seeing your face, then obviously then they're going to start dreaming about your face when they wouldn't have done necessarily before because they haven't seen your face. So I don't know if there's going to be some kind, you know, I think there's going to be multiple layers to this, hopefully. Um, he seems to be picking good scripts lately.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be good. I reckon. I'm so excited about this. Is he just going to turn out to be a crazy lunatic? Is the process of going through appearing in people's dreams and the celebrity and the fame, is that going to drive him to become a crazy lunatic? You know, who knows? Who knows? But I can't
We'll
wait to
find out.
descend into the dreamscape with Nicolas Cage. That is exactly where I want to be in my life, is in the dreamscape with Nicolas Cage. So
Yeah.
watch this space, watch this dream space, and we'll talk
Yeah.
about it another time, hopefully when
Yeah.
it
It's
comes
no
out.
release date. It just says coming soon, doesn't it? So
Yeah, coming soon. That's the problem with a lot of these smaller movies now, is that, you know, they're just waiting. They're probably not going to get a theatrical in every region, and then you kind of just got to wait for one of these, you know, big ugly streaming corporations to pick it up and beam it into your house. So as much as we hate them, we're relying on them. Pay people and give us the damn movie. Give us the Nicolas Cage movie. Come on. And you know, I mean, I'm sure Nicolas Cage is being paid just fine.
Oh yeah.
I
think he's doing all right.
He's doing all right.
Castles and all that.
Yeah, he's living in castles. He's got like houses everywhere. I mean, that's probably why he did a lot of these bad movies as well. You know, you get to a certain point, you've got to keep up a certain level of income and all of this kind of stuff. But moving on.
Yeah.
Big movie of the week, everyone. I'm talking about The Nun 2. We both saw this.
We did
we
indeed.
Both took this in. Did we both like it? We'll see.
Let's find out.
Let's find out. So this is in the Conjuring universe. The first Nun was very successful. I think the first one cost like 20 million and probably made like close to 200, I would say at this point. I don't have that to hand right now.
I did have a number.
You've got the number. He's got the segues. He's got the numbers. Drop it on me, because it took me ages to find the stuff for the Nun 2, so I don't want to leave the page in case it's forever gone.
I did have it from... fuck it. Just delete that. Edit.
It's fine.
I'll edit.
How many numbers does he have? None.
I'll put the number on the screen.
Yeah. He'll put it on the screen. So, the Nun 2...
Second to none.
Second to none. We're not doing this. We're not going down this road, okay? This whole week in the build up to this, our chat, our private chat that we have,
nothing but none pun.
It's just been, nothing but nuns. Not none puns, I should say.
Yeah.
Anyway, so excuse the nun. Let's move on. So this is directed by somebody called Michael Chaves.
I thought it was Chavez.
Maybe there's no little apostrophe or enye or whatever, the little thing in there. Michael Chaves,
Chavez.
I think by calling him Michael Chavez, you kind of give yourself more artistic, sounding name.
It sounds like a nice name.
It sounds like a nice name, but is it a nice movie, everyone? So where do we start on this? Do we start?
Let's say, let's start with Michael, shall we? So he's worked on a few of the Conjuring, the latter sequels. Devil Made Me Do It.
Cool.
Where do we start? Like you said, you'd seen the first Nun. We spoke about this not too long ago.
Yeah, so I was unsure if I'd seen the first Nun. After some back and forth, I ascertained that I had in fact seen at least most of it. Maybe I checked out, or maybe I missed the beginning or the end, but I generally remember the premise of, these two badass religious people get called in like fucking Ghostbusters to come and deal with this nun situation. And luckily this movie, there is a scene where they just really quickly and dismissively almost recap the plot of the first one. It's literally just one of the characters just sits there and just fucking spells it out, just in case you haven't seen it.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting in there. Yeah, so once I heard that, I was like, yeah, I remember this. I'm pretty sure I've seen this. Right. But just as well, because there's not a massive amount of plot going on in this movie. However, it's for the first first act of this movie, it is a little bit vague and unclear as far as like the chronology and the locale of where everything and when everything is happening. I don't know if you got that sense. but like we cut between two different, like very similar looking, like nunnery, cathedral-y, churchy looking places, and it took me a good 15 minutes to realize that they were in fact two different places and two different groups of characters, right? Because we start off, let's rewind. So we start off, little boy and a priest. No jokes here, people. There's nothing going on there. But
it doesn't play out how you'd think.
Doesn't play out how you think.
How
Somebody's
you'd
getting
hope it
hot under
wouldn't.
the collar, I tell you that much. Right?
Indeed.
But he's just like, go and get me my wine. Boy goes into the wine cellar, and some stuff happens. Maybe it doesn't end too well for the priest. Maybe the boy doesn't really react as much as you might think you might react if somebody just floated up into the air and lit on fire in front of you.
Just, self-immolated, or maybe not self-immolated, but immolated.
Somehow immolated. Yeah, for sure.
Man's crispy.
The man is crispy. The nun is back, everyone.
Strong opening, I thought.
It was okay.
It's pretty good. That's one thing I would say about, because the first nun, or the nun, had a similar, like a sort of interesting, title sequence where there was like a bunch of crows and they flew out, and then you saw the title, the nun. This one was similar. Like, obviously, well, you got the priest immolation, and then you see the front of the cathedral, and you got that shot of Frenchie, which, by the way, just like the most fucking, you couldn't get any more of a French or French Canadian, as he so staunchly states in the first film. Maurice, Maurice,
who's great in this. I think with what he's given actors to work with, I think he's pretty good. He reminds me of like a discount Charlie Hunnam.
Yeah,
I won't hold that against him. I think he's quite engaging to watch. I don't think he's got the most, mind-blowing dialogue or anything to go off of here, but because we do really, for the most part, I do think the relationship between him and the kid Sophie is kind of like the center of this, although I would say that I say that loosely because it doesn't really center, I don't think, hard enough on any of the characters. But like I say, I didn't even know they was in different places. I was like, okay, so he's like the groundskeeper or the caretaker of this
the boarding school.
The boarding school. And I don't know how nun stuff works. All right, I have zero knowledge of that's the one. Covenant, I have no idea how they work. I assume that you would have a school, and then you would have a church or the cathedral and all that kind of stuff, and then you would go from being in the school, you grow up, you get thrown over the road there, and now you're a nun or whatever, right? So it's not until 20 minutes into this movie that I realized that they are in fact in different fucking places completely.
Oh yeah, it's funny because they did.
Stupid?
No, not really. I mean, I get you, but yeah, they do like the recap scenes, but they don't. At the end of the first film, they go their separate ways or whatever. That's again like that title shot, like, you got him walking through the streets, the shadow of the nun over the cathedral, resolves into him walking on the street, and you got the title sequence. But yeah, you see that at the end of the first film, that while there, she spits the blood of Christ onto the Valak, the nun. It flashes and shows where she sticks her serpent nun tongue down Frenchie's throat, implying that he's been possessed by her. Oh, Frenchie got a slimy serpent Frenchie from the nun there. So yeah, you already know, that he's, possessed by, but you don't see it's not
any
clear that
signs of it,
they've
really.
gone separate ways. Oh no,
Yeah,
yeah, but yeah, like what you're saying with the location, the
yeah.
confusion there. But yeah, so she, I assume, stayed in Romania. Frenchie went off and lands where? But France. It
Yeah,
actually, yeah, it shows.
Tuscany? What's the place called? Something with a
I could
T.
not pronounce it.
Tabasco? I don't know.
I'm
Tana, Tana,
not going to butcher it.
Tajarian. That's a Game of Thrones. But anyway, whatever. Tanagan. I
Targaryen.
don't know. It's a place, right?
I'll put it there.
And we get the title card like once in this movie to say, okay, this place is that place. But then
Yeah,
when we cut to the second place, this is where the confusion comes in. They don't
yeah.
give
Which
you the second.
no,
They don't give
I
you the.
assume
They don't
she's
give you the
still in
title card.
Romania. Yeah,
But they,
no, they
if you're
don't. But
gonna,
I'm assuming that's where she is, in a
yeah,
convent over there, because
yeah.
she has to travel there at some point on a train. You know,
But
it's
if you're
a
gonna
nice
have the name
scenic
of a
shot.
place come up, right, and you're gonna do that in a movie, which is fine. It's a device. All movies use it. Maybe you haven't got enough creative vision to just show us with the set and the design and the scenery where it is. You need to write it up on the screen. That's fine. I'm not judging.
Yeah,
Plenty of better movies have done it. But if you are going to do that, you need to do it again when you go somewhere else. Otherwise, I'm just going to assume that we're still there, you know? So maybe
mm.
I'm a dumb piece of shit, but that's kind of
No,
how I kind of took that. And we don't really recap. I mean, we get that flashback of him getting the thing down his throat, but we don't really recap any of the first movie until a bit later on.
no, but
Um, by the
yeah,
way, if you watch that first movie and you're super invested in that main character and you want to see him have a really hearty, meaty resolution in this movie, spoiler alert, you don't get that.
oh.
He dies. In it. He's not in it. And they just, I
And they
mean,
just explain away. Well, yeah, it's briefly like just
yeah,
oh, what
remember
did he
when you
have?
did
Like
that
colic
thing?
or something.
Cholera.
Cholera, that's
They
it.
they
Sorry.
say it with no emotion. They just
Just
cold as ice. Here's what
yeah.
happened in the first movie. He died of cholera. And then she's like, doesn't even react to it. It's like, well, you spent the whole fucking movie with this guy, and like, you don't even care. They don't even care when they're
By
like,
the
we
way,
need you, nun, to go on this mission. There's a nun ghost. It's back. We don't know how it's back.
no.
Maybe there's somebody who does know how it's back that comes in later on in the movie. I don't know why we didn't just go to him first.
Yeah. Oh
because
yeah.
he's
Her
because he says that he's been communicating with them and he knows a
Mr.
lot of stuff.
Exposition
Mr. Exposition, like
in the library or whatever.
in the library, the librarian guy, the glorified librarian as he describes himself.
Yeah, her
So
contact.
why he's and because she's like, okay, I was there. We fought a nun. There was all this stuff going on. We had to burn it, lock it away, get rid of it, whatever we did, right? I don't think I really know what we did. It just, we sorted it out. Okay. Now he's died of cholera. I don't really think I know what to do or what it is or how to handle this situation. Like, well, you're the best bet we've got. Doesn't matter about the other guy that's feeding us all the information about everything
Yeah.
that's going on. He knows the history of the patron saint of blindness and all of this other stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what are we
I
doing? What are we
we're
doing?
jumping around here, but yeah,
I
like
know we're jumping
from
around
the
because
start,
that's what
like
this
just
movie did.
it did. It was kind of a mess. Kind of. It was a fucking total mess. But
All right.
I can't pronounce her name. Is it Taya Famiga? Who plays Sister Irene? She was in American Horror Story. I do like her as an actress. I
Okay,
think
I've
she's
never seen her in anything before.
good.
I'm not familiar with
Not
anyone in this
bad.
movie, to be honest.
But yeah, that's when the first shots of her, she's got the Mother Superior or whoever like telling her to go fetch this other nun, and you got like the fucking Sister Deborah Storm Reed,
Yeah.
the actress. She's like the young rebellious nun. She's smoking a cigarette.
I wanted to ask
It's like,
about this. Are nuns allowed to smoke cigarettes? Is that cool?
I don't know. Well, she seems like, she's got no faith whatsoever. I mean,
Not really.
you
She
know,
doesn't even like. She says like, oh well, something happened to my parents, whatever. So they just threw me here. It seems like
yeah,
some of these people here, they're just there. It's it's basically just
it's
like a fucking house for the homeless or
yeah,
whatever, like disenfranchised kids or whatever. Like I thought, like to be a nun, you had to like
yeah.
believe
You want
so
to be
hard that
there,
you want to
surely.
you so much so that you give up everything, like your whole life, your
Your
carnal
cigarettes.
desires, your cigarettes, your alcohol,
Yeah.
no smack allowed in the nunnery whatsoever. It's fucking boring. I'm not even sure you're allowed to put pepper on your fucking food, salt and pepper. I'm sure I've seen that in a nun movie. Maybe it
No
was in
seasoning.
this,
Sister
I
Act.
think, yeah, Sister Act, right? Where, and again, I don't know if Sister Act or the nun is like following, if they're really doing their research and like going in and fleshing out this world
You'd hope
in a
so,
realistic
but
way. You would hope
I don't know.
so in both cases.
I don't really care.
And to be honest, I would put more faith in Sister Act than this.
Mm,
But maybe that's just because that movie has a charismatic lead and memorable characters, and this one
uh,
doesn't really.
not
We all talk
really.
about rebellious Storm Reid. She just got the same scowl on her face for the whole movie. Doesn't matter if she's
Yeah,
chilling with a cigarette or battling demons from beyond the grave.
but
Doesn't matter.
I
She's
knew from
not phased.
I knew from that initial conversation. I was like, all right, this is some foreshadowing bullshit. She's like, well, I hope when the time comes, you're faithful. You know, fucking, you'll have faith or whatever. I was
Yeah,
like, okay,
and that's about as close as we really get to a character arc for
yeah,
anyone.
and any character development.
It's not really anything there at all, is there? Because again,
Not really, mate.
she magics the faith up out of nowhere. There's not really, we don't really see her go through that transition. She just doesn't have faith at the beginning, and then right at the end, when she sees a fucking giant ghosty nun demon and some
Mm,
other weird shit going on, she's like, "Oh fuck, I guess we need to get rid of that."
yeah,
I believe now because I've seen some scary shit, so I can get rid of that. So like, there's no journey for
yeah,
anyone really.
not really.
We
But yeah,
to
you got the girl, the Frenchies, struck a little relationship up with
Yeah, can we
Sophie.
do we want to talk about that? Because that's a little
I was
bit.
just going to briefly just touch on it. She's
Mm,
obviously she's the student at the boarding school, and she's the daughter
yeah.
of the teacher. There's an Irish
Mm-hmm.
teacher, Kate, and a Popperwell,
Right.
which
So
I made a note of because I thought she's like stunningly beautiful. She had a very like homely look about her, like almost like a 50s, 60s like starlet.
yes, yeah,
Um,
she's got
she's
like
in,
a more relatable Eva Green kind of vibe going on.
yeah, that's
She's
yeah. She's
she
been
does
in
have
some
something.
bits. She was in
Go on.
Chronicles of Narnia.
I thought
Um,
it was her. She was
yeah,
the kid. She
2005.
was one of the young. She was the young
She
one
was young then.
in that
Yeah.
first one. Yeah.
Um, and then she was
Damn.
in the second one. But yeah, obviously she's grown up. But yeah, there's just like the bullying motif again. There's like an insufferable little twat of a girl.
Oh my god.
Fucking little
Before
bitch.
we before we go to that, I just want to say,
God.
right, I think it's perfectly fine in some context. An adult can be friends with a child, and there's no
Yeah.
nefarious thing going on. That doesn't,
No.
and just because we're in a religious setting, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
judging. I'm not implying. Okay, there's none of that going on. It's
Yeah.
fine. My issue is that it feels like he's only being friends with the kid because he wants to bang the mum.
Oh, yeah. But I
That's
don't
what I
know.
feel like.
Yeah, there's the awkward, like, tension between him and the mum when they,
And I don't think she's into him.
Nah, I didn't really get that vibe
There's
either. It's like a
At the
bit
start,
awkward.
yeah, at the
It's
start
like,
it's awkward. Then there's one moment maybe later on where they have like a nice kind of bantery, you know, not quite
Have a little
flirtatious, but they do have a
dance and stuff.
moment.
Yeah.
But then it just goes straight back to like she just looks at him like a piece of shit on her shoe. To be honest, it doesn't seem like
Well,
she's really digging this dude at
no.
all.
And it's funny how he just jumps from like being a possessed, you know, he's being possessed to like, you know, just being completely normal. Like I think possession generally like takes over a bit more than just like stumbling around in the nighttime.
It was very convenient, and if we didn't have that scene that showed us the end of the first movie, there wouldn't really be
You
any
won't have a fucking
clues
clue. Yeah.
that there's
Besides
anything
him,
going on
yeah,
until
he's like,
one bit where he's just hanging around outside a door for no reason.
yeah.
And that's a
But
good halfway into the movie, and that's a little bit too late to be established, because that's like, because when we first see that, I'm like, okay, well, that's like a subplot, there's something weird going on with him, it's going to tie into the main plot. But as we
yeah,
find out, that is the main plot, but we don't really get into that until a little bit too late for my liking. I would have liked more, you know, creepiness from him,
well,
you know, or
yeah,
some more different layers to him other than just being, oh, I'm jokey, look at me, you know, I'm friendly and I'm really nice and I grow tomatoes.
yeah.
Um,
But yeah,
when
let's talk about the nun anyway, because we got this. You know, this is the whole draw for this whole thing.
mhm,
Was like we spoke about before when you first see the nun character in Conjuring 2, and I was really like, you know, into that. Like, it was done well. I thought sparingly
right,
shots of her looking creepy as fuck. And then like these films are just like completely just ruined that by there was less of it in this film than the first, but there was still like, you know, there's all these like teasing shots of like it's like they were like, all right, we showed too much in the first, so we're gonna like scale it back. Um but like there's all these teasing shots of like, you know, you got the hooded figure.
and you could just
She's
slightly
always in
see
the
her
darkness. You can
face
just
in
about see her.
something.
But then
I
when you
don't.
do see her, it just like it kind
It's
of
not.
completely the creepy smile
Yeah,
thing was just like I don't know, it just made me
not a
laugh. There was
very
loads of people
impactful
laughing.
or memorable horror villain, really. Like, she's just. I mean, let's face it. The movie's called The Nun. Everyone in this movie is a fucking nun. She's just a nun with a white face, and it's
And
like there's
a
not
creepy smile.
really. There's just nothing to it, and there's there's just no tension. Like, and a lot of these kind of movies, you can see the jump scares coming, but even when you can
Yeah,
see them coming, sometimes they do enough with like music or sound design or the character, the camera angles, where even though you know they're coming and you know they're cheap and you know they're shit, they can still get you. But in this, they're just not doing anything, and I can
yeah,
just
they're
see it
ineffective.
coming. It's just very ineffective.
Like that
And
whole newsstand sequence. Did you get that? You know where
I
first
I
off I
thought
was
the
like, it's middle of the night. This will be closed up. You know
you don't leave your magazines there
you
all
don't
night, do
leave your
you?
mags just out on display to be robbed by the whole village or
Yeah.
whatever. But yeah, whatever.
I thought the visual of the covers flipping over, I
Yeah,
thought that
that's
was
cool.
one of the better things in it.
It was drawn out so fucking out. I was like, get on with it. Like after like 30 seconds, you're like, we know what's gonna happen. It's gonna be the nun,
Yes.
and it's like slowly like building. The wind's flipping the pages and whatever, and it's just like fuck's sake. And then
Yep.
it's like nothing. It's a shot. She passes out, or whatever, in the street.
Right.
Um,
Real
but,
quick.
go on.
We're gonna have to edit right here because I really need to pee.
Yeah,
So
seamless.
absolutely loved. Well, I always say absolutely loved, but I liked the bit with the magazines. It was one of
Yeah,
it was just a rare moment of like visual anything in this movie. Like, it just felt the cinematography just felt really flat. Like, even for like, you know, a cheap, you know, cash in of like a horror movie, like there was just nothing to it. It was just no dynamics, not with the visuals or the sound design. So yeah, the magazine bit stood out, and I really thought we was coming up to the end of the movie around that point, but it turns out there was a fair bit more than I anticipated. I want to talk about the kid, because she finds the kid, right? She's asking around. She's like, "Can I interview the kid?" They're like, "No, you can't interview the kid." And then one of them, the boy, right?
Witnessed
and then
the priest burn up,
yeah, right. And then somebody's like, "I heard he plays football in town," or whatever. And then, so the nun's walking through the town to the magazine stand, right? And then she sees like a whole group of like 20 kids playing football, and she just fucking knows which one it is. What's that all about?
Yeah.
There's no like investigative journalism. There's no mystery of like no time for that. It's just like, oh hey, that one there, you're the one, right? And it's like, you saw the thing, and it's like, yeah, I saw the thing. And
yeah,
what the fuck? Like, if she's that astute, what is she doing? And what are they doing in the middle of the night? And you know those kids would have ransacked those magazines. Absolutely.
Oh, definitely.
Would have fucking ruined it.
Straight for the top shelf.
Yeah, of course they are. Yeah. You know.
Well, that's the thing. Isn't that sequence? There's like, it goes like, you know, like, oh, you know, chase her around some corners into the dark, and that's where she gets led to, you know, the nun. There's so many scenes where I'm like, right, if the nun's controlling this, you know.
Yeah, the rules are really kind of vague, because apparently the nun can sometimes manipulate people from like another town or another country, maybe, wherever it is.
Yeah.
Or is she in the same town at that point? No, she's in the town at that point. But even before that, she's having like visions and nightmares and stuff, which we don't really explain, like why she's connected in that way. And if the nun has the ability to like project or give her those visions and nightmares before she even gets there, then why does the nun really need to do any of this stuff when all she needs to do is just to burn that room down to get to the thing that's buried in the floor
with the eyes like of Saint Jude or whatever? I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the patron saint of blind ladies.
Yeah. Right? Also, just there was another thing that I didn't touch on. Straight away in that early scene, you see Sister Irene having flashbacks of her mother, and I'm like,
right,
is her mother connected or an ancestor of the patron saint of blindness or something?
Not really.
Oh, no.
That what a waste. There's no reason for the flashbacks, the visions, or any of this.
Other than
again, I thought that was leading you to believe that was the case. And even if it's like a red herring, have there be something else that it was a red herring for? But there's no really big reveal or twist of any kind. It's just that the guy just explains, okay, this lady was burnt, they took her eyeballs out, she wouldn't die, whatever it was. You know, no connection to you, I'm just telling you about it anyway, but I don't know why, you know, that's fine. Then we got I'm not sure if this is before or after this, but talking about people being idiots, like the kid, Sophie, and like the bullies have been giving her shit this whole movie, and they're like, hey,
you want to play a game?
Sorry about that, come with us into a dark room that we're not supposed to go. And she's like, oh, okay, what are you doing? These are some, I don't want to speak ill of children, especially not, you know, disenfranchised, you know, children of God or whatever they are. but she's a fucking passive aggressive little bitch. What
She's
are
a
you
little
doing?
shithead.
Like, why are you following
Insufferable.
her? Insufferable, and
She
not
does
really.
get a comeuppance, though.
She does,
Spoiler.
but spoiler. I mean, we kind of like again, we've gone all over the place.
we are.
Like,
Everyone knows.
listen, if you want our review to have structure and build up and tension, then put those things in the movie, and we'll meet you halfway. Until then, we're just gonna fucking spray words all over this shit. All right.
Yeah.
We still haven't said if we liked it or not, but you get the idea.
Yeah,
Right.
the idea.
So yeah, spoiler alert, later on the kid does get the comeuppance, or a minor comeuppance, you know, it's not like she gets anything really, and she just shrugs it off.
She gets gored by a horn, a demon horn.
And she's fine.
For a door.
Does she scream? Does she slow down? Does she bleed out? Does she run out of breath? Does she even get scared? Does she cry? I don't want to see kids scared and crying, but if you're going to do a horror movie, I want to see some verisimilitude. I want to see them reacting, you know, believably or, you know, consistently with the events that are going on around them. But these kids, not a lot of brains or emotion going on, really. And sometimes it can be really satisfying to have a bully kid. Like in the movie we talked about last week. You know, not the greatest movie, and we didn't spend a lot of time with them. But that little Busey boy, he brought something to that, and you know, you really kind of felt like this is I really believe that this was like a horrible kid. And, you know, who had more to him going on than kind of what was presented on the screen. And then even if you don't get to see that, you still like, you feel a little bit more invested, you know, in the comeuppance when it does come. So it's like, well, is this really, this is nothing. It's empty.
Yeah, it's pretty empty. Yeah, that whole demon angle with the the light shining through the eye of the goat, and
that was the lamest setup for like the third act.
It's fucking ridiculous. And then obviously, like the light shines through and reveals, X marks the spot. That's where the
like the Ark of the Covenant, like some Indiana Jones shit.
Also, I thought just the demon looked pretty whack. But yeah, again, like you're sort of beating over the head with these suspense sequences leading to jump scares, which are ineffective. But I feel like they try to, bring it more than just Valak, the demon, the nun. You get some, you get the like sort of zombie altar boy, the headmistress of the boarding school who gets possessed at one point.
Yeah, they don't really do a lot with that character either, and it's a fairly cliche character in this kind of stuff, where especially like in a Covenant, where it's like you've got the hard woman at the top who's running it, and they even say, oh, like she's a really hard woman, but she does care about us, but you don't see any of that.
No, or you just see her being a bit of a bitch to Frenchie, and then
like once for like 2 seconds, and let's face it, he's the groundskeeper. Even the kids are treating him like shit. They got no respect for this dude.
Poor janitor, the groundskeeper, the janitor character, they always get shit on.
Always. So it doesn't really stand out. We're like the Madam something or other doesn't really. We don't really do anything with her. We get that one scene where they release the cockroaches into a room or whatever, and again, that's just a really basic setup for later on when she's dead and there's cockroaches coming off of her face or whatever. It's like kindergarten, like writing. Do you know what I mean?
Kindergarten creep show. That's what
kindergarten creep show.
Yeah, it's like a callback.
Write that one down.
Creeping up on you segment from Creep Show where the guy explodes. E.G. Marshall explodes with cockroaches.
Yeah.
Classic. If you haven't seen it, sort it out.
Go and check that out, everyone. Comment below. Let us know what you think of Creepshow. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the Nun. I want to say this. Is it just me? The Nun's not really in this movie that much.
No, that's what I was saying. Like they tried to, extend her, I don't know, her reach or possession, like I said, to other characters, and
she's got
the only time she. Go on, sorry.
I was going to say she's got pyrokinesis, she's got telekinesis.
Pyrokinesis.
That's what they call it.
That's fucking
right. She can manipulate fire. She can manipulate the physical world around her. She can manipulate your mind. So why did she need to do any of this? Could she not have just she could have just lifted the floor up from a different fucking town if she happened to be there, which they do say this nun is like, she's on a road trip of devastation. She's working her way across. It's like, but why? If you're a spirit, surely you would just manifest yourself in the place where you need to be to get the thing. You wouldn't manifest yourself 200 miles away and then catch a fucking bus. You know what I mean? And slowly work your way across.
Just go on a little tour of devastation.
But we get no rhyme or reason as to why she's doing that. And again, we don't get the reveal of okay, well, she needs the eyes for something until much later on. It's just like, well, where's the drive? Where's the momentum? What's the what are we supposed to be following here? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just doesn't really connect.
Yeah, that's another thing. It's just like, why you build all this up, and then they say, if that this comes into Valak's possession, she'll be more powerful, and
Yeah, but she's already powerful. She's doing everything anyway. I was going to say, right, it sounds like a joke, and it's not a joke. But I wouldn't have called this movie The Nun 2. I would have called this movie The Nuns, right? And then the nuns referring to the nuns that are, the regular nuns in the convent. And then you do like a Freddy's Revenge thing, right? Because it's got a little bit of that in this, where it's like you got the one person who's possessed, and they need to get him to do something to bring them back into power, where they can now manifest themselves into the physical realm. But as we said, they're already fucking everything up in the physical realm anyway without him. And it's just like, why did we even introduce that concept? I guess because they didn't want it to just be another movie of a spooky nun haunting the place. They're like, oh well, we'll have it possess the dude, but it doesn't add anything to the horror or to the tension, to the story. Absolutely nothing.
It's just some other characters possessed by the nun. Yeah, it's creepy old boy.
He's possessed by a nun, and then we introduce the fucking goat demon thing because we've got different characters in different rooms or different areas, and we need something for these characters to deal with while these characters are dealing with something else. But we've already established that she can be fucking everywhere at once anyway. She can be in your brain in Romania and flipping a magazine rack in France with no worries. So why did we need to introduce the goat man? Why did we've got nun, goat man, possessed man, and three villains, none of which are able to, even three of them combined are not scary. Just focus on one and have that build up, and then have some tension throughout the whole movie, and really lean into the Maurice being possessed angle, have him be creepy, have him be chopping and changing. Do something.
Yeah, I mean, there was one thing I completely forgot. There's at one point, it's kind of early on. There's a young girl is delivering something to the priesthood, and then she gets brutally murdered
Yeah.
by the nun, and then like that's just that doesn't come back. You got the altar boy that comes back. It was just like that was just thrown in there for like the sake
because
of
we
it.
need somebody to die. I do believe that's like between.
Oh, that's
that
definitely a thing. On the kill count, it's like.
Well, yeah,
we need
it's
something.
we
need a death.
I mean,
We need
we got a
shocking.
kill count of 2. Is it? It's the priest at the beginning and then the delivery girl. Is that it?
I think there might be. The headmistress.
Oh, and the headmistress and the madam. So 3.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's just chucked in there for like shock value. It seems there's nothing.
We just needed something to happen at that point in the movie with like, it bears no relevance.
But ultimately, like, it's the same shit again. Like, the blood of Christ saves the day, and in this time, and this fucking you get the artifact, you get the eyes, and then it's not
everything
just,
swirling around, big CGI nonsense.
Yeah, it's not just a bit of blood of Christ spat in the face of Valak this time. It's like a whole fucking deluge. Fucking fire hose of the blood of Christ comes and saves the day again.
Yeah, especially the ending of this movie. This made me think of like people who don't like superhero movies. This is what they see when they watch a superhero movie.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Where it's just like, just nothing means anything. Nothing has any weight to it. And then all you're just waiting for is a big swirly energy, spooky, tornado thing at the end. And somebody's floating in the air. And it's just like this. I see this movie how people who hate the Avengers probably see the Avengers, right? Pretty much. And to exemplify that, we got to nick one of those other tropes. I don't know if you want to go to the post credits. Spoiler alert: there's a post credits, but I'd also like to say that there's basically like no music in. Like, I don't remember any music or any sound really design or any kind to stand out. So so then we get to a post credit scene, and this is weird, right? Because even when you watch a Marvel movie or whatever, even then, like, some people get up and walk out and some people stay, and you're like, oh, okay, I know who the cool people are. They know how to wait around. They know what's coming. All those people that left the cinema are the fucking normies, idiots, right? They're missing out. I'm in my screening for this. I'm sitting there. The credits finish, or rather I say the movie finishes, and not one person stood up. I went to stand up and not one other person went to stand up because I didn't think there's going to be anything. I was like, this isn't really that kind of movie. And bearing in mind, the only other Conjuring movie I've seen is the first Nun, and vaguely at best. So when nobody stood up, I was like, wow, these people, like, that showed to me that these movies do have like a hardcore following. These people knew something was coming. So I was like, okay, I'm going to sit down and we'll see what it's going to be, and it'll just be like, I'm thinking it'll just be like a Carrie moment, it'd be like a face or a hand or, popping out from, like a church altar or whatever, something like that. But no, we cut to Patty Willie himself, Patrick Wilson, who I understand is the main character from the mainline Conjuring movies. This is set in 1956, by the way. So the Conjuring movies set around the same time, or because so this is before then, or but then I guess this post-credit scene would be after the Conjuring movies, right? So he's been dealing with this stuff for a little while.
Yeah,
and they've been going around. Him and his wife. I don't remember the name of the couple. I know they're like they're based on like a famous, right? The Warblers, and Daddy Warbucks or whatever, right? But And then he's just like, they're just hanging out in like a hotel room or in a living room, wherever it is they are. And then they get the phone. They get a phone call, and he's just like, okay, we're going to deal with this. He's not what he says, but that's the vibe, right? It's just like, okay, we're on the case, right? But what case? They just fucking solved the case. They got rid of the nun. There's no,
Well, no,
nothing.
This is, I guess, it's pre Conjuring 2 Enfield haunting, because that's where you first see Valak and all that.
So it's tying it back into the first time that we see the nun.
So it's basically pointless.
So it doesn't go anywhere. It's not setting up, because I'm like, okay, they're setting up. The nun's going to come back, and then Annabelle's going to come back, and they're all
maybe they will.
And now they're all teaming up. I think there's another 1 or 2 movies in this universe as well, or maybe there is going to be, at least. So I'm like, oh, okay. So Patrick Wilson is now, they're going to come and save the day. The nun's coming back, and the other things are going to come back, and they're going to bring it all together, or at least go somewhere. But if it just ties back into that movie, then it's just a dead end.
Yeah, it would
loop.
be. But yeah, no, you're probably right. I mean, this universe isn't going anywhere. It's making a lot of money. So it's clearly going to.
Yes, I have that information. You wouldn't believe how much fucking money this is making. Oh my God. Again, must be the frustration that I'm feeling about this, that people feel about like Marvel movies, right? So
yeah, especially the horror fans. Like Blumhouse is now like the horror purists. Or
this cost $38 million to make, and it has made 168 plus million so far. And it's been out, a week and a half. So we are definitely getting more of this.
I'm not going to the cinema to watch any more of them. I'm sorry.
I'm not doing it either. So that's fine.
I'm done with the nun.
Done with the nun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this made 168 million. So it's made like 5 times its fucking budget. Nearly,
right.
or it will do by the end of its theatrical run. Anyway, so there'd be, much as I hate to say it, they'd be remiss to not carry this on. But I don't know. I give this 1 out of 5 magazines. 1 out of 5 magazines, everybody, is what I give this movie. This was just... Go on, say it. I know you want to say it. How many magazines do you give it?
1.5 Burning Priest.
1.5 Burning Priest. I will never want to watch this again. I don't want to watch any more of these ever again.
Do you know what? I wasted another 1.5 or whatever the running time of the Nun. The first one was. I was like, I'm gonna go back and check it out again, just to refresh. I could have just not, because you get the little recap.
I was struggling to write notes. I was like, there's nothing to write about. There's nothing to think about. There's nothing to really talk about. We've just jumped around all over the fucking place, because what else can you do? If you watched this last week, we gave you a breakdown, a deep dive into, Cobweb, and that wasn't exactly, it wasn't The Shining, you know what I mean? But there was still stuff to talk about. There's just nothing. It's just bland.
So I don't want to be like one of those, okay, boomer fucking horror guys, but yeah, there's reasons why, modern horror just doesn't hit the same. And I think a lot of stuff's already been done, and you can sort of see, like I say, when you're beaten over the head with those suspenseful jump scare scenes, you're just like, is this all we've got now? Like, but obviously there's some gems.
There's definitely be some good stuff, and there is still good ideas to be had. There is still fun new takes on, more traditional, older ideas. We're getting good horror movies. They are starting, especially now, like We talked about some great trailers. We got some really cool stuff coming up. We've had some other cool stuff. You know, the last few years, the horror movie, you know, genre is really starting to like take more prominence, I think, than it had for a little while now. But this movie confirms what I said previous weeks. I've said it multiple times. The Conjuring movies, and again, this is my only frame of reference, but these are the baked beans of horror movies. That is it. It's just, we can just package that up in a can with little to no effort, and people will eat. People will put it on their toast and slurp it up like fucking the mindless, you know, little fucking consumers that they are. All right.
Yeah. And that's not to say that we're any better than any of them, but we're just not part of the demographic, I guess.
I love like I love like a broad, you know, not generic, but you know, sometimes it's just it's okay to have like junk food for your brain.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Like just a fun, dumb horror film.
Yeah, but even a McNugget has like some barbecue sauce, you know.
Yeah.
Where's the sauce? You know what? Because they're not allowed condiments at the Covenant. If you're not allowed salt, the condiments. There's a pun in. Look, it's a stretch, okay? But no salt, no pepper, no barbecue sauce,
none to be had.
None to be had, and that does conclude us for our Nun review, and also this episode. Next week, hopefully the creator, maybe we're going to be talking about What We Do in the Shadows. We teased it a few weeks ago. We didn't get to it that time. It's still on our docket. Season 5 is coming soon. We know this show has a massive following. We want to do it justice. We care much more than the Michael Chavez cares about scaring your socks off. All right. So if you like this movie, if you didn't like this movie, let us know what you thought. What's your favorite Conjuring movie? Where do you think this goes with the next movie? Is it The Nun 3? Is it like a bigger like Nun Conjuring universe, like mashup crossover? Are we going to get like the Conjuring version of the Monster Squad with the doll and the ghosts and the whatever else is it? The all teaming up, all spooking you out, but not really. What do you think? What did you think? Like, subscribe, comment, love it all. Eat it up like a tin of baked beans, and we'll see you all next week. Anything from you, George?
Go watch Nude Nuns with Big Guns. If you want
Nude Nuns with Big Guns.
Film.
There you go. And then check out Creepshow and, you know, and let us know what you thought of that. Was it the first Creepshow you said, or was it the second?
Original.
There's 2, right?
Yeah, there's 2. There's technically 3, but we don't talk about the third.
So
we'll get into some classic horror next
we've got a whole month of this stuff coming up. Yeah, we've got a whole bunch of horror stuff that we want to talk about. I've got to say it's real quick. I'll tell you now on air, right? Before I go, and I really should go because my theatre coming up over the next month. I've got screenings. They're doing Friday the 13th. They're doing Christine and Beetlejuice. So it's gonna be fun for some classic stuff on the big screen, some new stuff that hopefully becomes future classics on the big screen. And you heard about it all here first on the Poproast podcast. We'll see you next time, everyone. Peace.
Peace.
Time to get the fuck out of here.